Alright, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So this is basically going to be kind of part 0 of the tutorial series, quote unquote, just kind of like some introductory stuff, like kind of to help you like understand the run and get started with the run itself. Just some general stuff that you should know before actually like learning how to run the game. So first off, to actually unlock all the levels for the run itself, you unlock each space level by getting 5 gold trophies on the rest of the levels. So in total you need 25 gold trophies throughout the rest of the the levels that you play to unlock the space levels. And in terms of the secret levels, for each secret, for every 3 green crystals that you get, you unlock 1 secret level. So there's 45 green crystals, there's 15 secret levels, so that makes sense. For secret 15, I don't remember 100%, but from what I recall, I think you need to beat secret 14, secrets 1 through 14 as well to unlock secret 15. So just keep that in mind. I believe that's true. So that's generally how you unlock all the levels that you need to actually do a run. Also, you would probably need to unlock a flashball, which is just you need to beat level 45, or it's either just level 45 or levels 1 through 45. I forget which one it is exactly, but regardless, when you do one of those, you'll unlock flashball. And flashball is important for the speedrun because you can edit its stats, right? So you have these different stats. From my testing, I'm not 100% sure what response means. I think it just makes the marble more responsive. There's not much else to it. I haven't noticed, like, been able to discern significant differences, like specific differences when I change this stat. So I'd recommend just keeping this stat at max. Speed. If you change this, it changes both your ground speed and your air speed. And for what I've seen from slide, it changes just your ground speed but not your air speed. So for some reason, if you would want to for some reason have a lower ground speed but maintain maximum air speed, you would change slide. But otherwise, if you just want to kind of decrease the general speed of the marble itself, just to make it easier to play the game, you could just change the speed stat. And I'd always recommend keeping the bounce stat at minimum, just so you don't go bouncing around unintended angles and stuff like that. So yeah, in general, you can mess around with the stats that you want to mess around with to find a combination that works comfortably with you. But I would recommend messing around with the speed and slide stats. Probably the speed stats, as that just decreases the general speed of the ball itself. Yeah, but yeah, you can just mess around and make a combination that feels comfortable with you. So yeah, that's it's the kind of the introductory stuff in terms of the flashball and the levels. One other thing I wanted to mention about the run is the saves. So for this run, we keep autosave on, and this is generally to allow for if you get a top 5 time or an ILPB that you want to save. It'll actually save it to your Wii still during the run, so you don't have to just like, if you get an ILPB, you won't have to just like highlight it and it won't be saved in your on your file. So if you keep autosave on, and then but essentially that means that for every time you get a top 5 time, you get a save animation, which I can just show it. I can go to a different file. This is my 100% file that I got, that I did a 100% run a long time ago. So if you just play through the level, and you got a top 5 time like this, right? It does the saving animation. And for my testing a while ago, like years ago, that animation lasts 3 seconds and 1 frame. I'm probably going to retime that just to confirm that. But, so essentially, that means that, also it's consistent throughout the levels. Like it's always going to be 3 seconds and a frame. So we have this, this live split component, this component for the timer, where essentially it's called timer pause and allows you to input a time length where if you press the pause button for the live split timer, it'll pause for that exact amount of time. And so essentially the rule of thumb is whenever you get a save, you use this component, and whenever you get a save during the run, if you're just starting off runs, it'll probably be pretty much every level, which, yeah, that'll be annoying, sorry. But like as you do more runs on each level, then that'll become less of something that you'll have to worry about. But yeah, so every time you see a save, then you'll press the pause button and it'll pause for 3 seconds. So just set it as 3 seconds. The extra frame doesn't really matter. At most, it'll matter by like 2 seconds during the run. And like we can probably change this rule to like add a certain number of frames depending on the number of saves that you do. But for now, just to keep it simple, just because there's not much competition, times are going to be pretty far apart on the leaderboards anyway. You could just set it to 3-second pause, and there's a link to this component in the rules for the category on speedrun.com. I might just post it in the description as well, just to make it easier to find. But yeah, so that's what you would do in terms of getting around saves during a full game run. So that's the general, that's what we do. And sorry if it'll be annoying at the start when you have a lot of saves, but trust me, it'll it's just a good way to keep things consistent rather than turning off autosave and then having to do more menuing and stuff like that. That just keeps it consistent overall. So yeah, okay. Next thing I want to explain is cycles. So for cycle dependent levels, how it works is if you let this cutscene run, then these cycles are actually running. And if you once you press A to start the level, the cutscenes continue from where they left off as we're running the cutscene. So in general, if you want to get consistent cycles, then what you can do is actually you want to buffer the A press to skip the cutscene as the level's loading up. So usually a good cue is when let's say for a park level, the clovers start covering the screen, like when you hit next level in the previous level. When the clovers start uncovering the screen, that's when you can start holding A to buffer the skip of the cutscene. So start holding A now, and it will skip the cutscene. And if you buffer the cutscene skip, you'll always get the same cycles every time. And you can use that to just be more consistent with your movement throughout the levels. Just always remember to try and buffer that cutscene skip, and don't try to buffer it too early. So just when for a park, it's when the clovers start uncovering the screen. For Candyland, it can be when the strawberries start going away. Then you buffer the A press. So yeah, it's just a general consistent way to skip the cutscene at the same time every time to get the same cycles every time. So just keep that in mind for sure. And the final thing I wanted to kind of give a basic explanation of is jumping, and I might give a more comprehensive tutorial later on about jumping, but basically I guess I can go to this level just to show it off. For a lot of skips in this level, you're going to need to be able to jump off of the ground from certain parts of the level to other parts of the level. And to do that, basically, the motion is a quick movement up and then down of the Wiimote. So I know I kind of messed up there, but you can just do a movement up as well, but you can control it better by moving it up and then down. Just a quick move, jerk up of the wrist really quick, and then you can just get some height off the ground. Now getting height is fine, and then obviously the more force you put into it, the more height you can get. And it's kind of finicky. You kind of have to get used to it in terms of how much height, what kind of lighter motions will get you less height, and you can get more height just by using more momentum. So that's kind of how to control the height of the jump, and then you can direct it by basically doing a jump and then angling the Wiimote in the direction you want. So if I want to get to that crystal in the front left up there, I'm going to do the motion and then hold forward and left. So kind of like that. You can also hold the direction preemptively to get momentum going in the direction you want to jump. However, you usually get less height with a jump like that. But it's usually easier to set up the angle. If I want to jump to the right, I jump and then angle it to the right. And then one other little trick that you can do is if you want even more height in a certain direction, you start rolling in the opposite direction and then jump in that direction. So let's say I want to get like a jump with a lot of height really going forward. So what I can do is I can start rolling back a little bit and then jump and then start angling forward. So like that. And you can get a lot of height like that. So like roll back, jump forward. And that wasn't even that much force, but I got a lot of height. Okay, kind of messed it up there. But you can get the idea. Like that's a lot of height from that. And you can do the same thing sideways. So if I want to get a lot of height from a jump to the right, then I start moving a bit to the left and then jumping and going right. So like that. And you can get a lot of height like that. You can do this kind of the same thing with backwards jumps, but backwards jumps aren't very useful in this run just because you usually can't get a good angle for the backwards jumps consistently just because you can't see where you're going. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea of jumps and just the different variations of jumps. And again, I might do a more in-depth tutorial on jumps themselves. I just don't have a great understanding of like how to explain these motions myself. And I think that's kind of the best way I can explain them, the way I just did. So hopefully that is a bit helpful in terms of being able to execute different types of jumps for different parts, different skips and different levels. One more thing I want to note is actually if you are at the start of the level, or if you reset by back to the start of the level or back to a checkpoint by pressing A, you can buffer a jump out of the start. Like that. It's like you do the motion right as you're about to exit the goal. And you can get a lot of height with a buffer jump. And you can also, if you're doing a jump and you're about to land, you can also buffer a jump. So here's me just chaining jumps together by buffering them. You can get a pretty decent amount of height. That's another way to gain a lot of height, is buffering a jump off the ground. Although it's definitely harder to control the height that you get if you're buffering a jump after a jump already. But yeah, you can like kind of gain continuous height. Obviously there's a limit, but yeah. So hopefully I explained jumps pretty well. So I know that's kind of the meta of this game, with like a lot of later levels being able to do jumps quickly and accurately, to do a lot of skips. Is kind of if you want to get good at this game, it's something you're gonna have to learn. So hopefully that helped out. Maybe you can use jumps to do some simpler skips that I explain in the tutorials later on. So yeah, just play around with it and see what you can do with it. So and hopefully I explained some of the introductory stuff of the run pretty well. I guess you can move on to the main tutorials within the worlds, starting with Park, and I'm still recording them now. I think I have 3 done right now through Daytown, but yeah, we'll get the rest done and just complete the series. So yep, thanks for watching, and see you in the rest of the videos. Peace.